Welcome back, everybody, to the GioMo Show, kind of a laid-back middle of summer edition of the show. Be sure to subscribe right here on YouTube to support the podcast, whether you're on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, right here watching on YouTube, wherever you are. Your support of the podcast is much appreciated, and it's right underneath the video, right there. It's right there. You can see it right there. But we just got done talking about men's basketball, about their kind of off season and what we're looking forward to for the next season. But now we move into the beyond part of our Oakland sports and beyond. Let's talk some minor league baseball here. I'm not a huge Tigers fan myself, or not so much that I hate them, but I haven't had much to look at yet. So I looked to the minor leagues to kind of keep me in my, give me my baseball fix for the summer, both in the USPBL and recently the Royal Oak Leprechauns. So we'll be talking about the USPBL, the current standings after the All-Star game last week. So the way it's been shaking out, I remember seeing right before the All-Star game, they took a bit of a break for the league, and the Mammoths were right on our tail. The Mammoths and the Unicorns were both right on our tail. And what do I mean by our? Who's we? You got a mouse in your pocket? No, I don't. I'm talking about my Eastside Diamond Hoppers. I'm talking about my Frogs. I'm talking about the team that's been soaring and hopping high in first place for most of the season. Yeah. They're starting to get caught up to. At least as it was going into the All-Star game, I was getting a bit worried. Early part of the season, you're in first place. It's a tough thing to maintain throughout the entire season. And naturally in baseball, you're going to get some ebbs and flows. And we had a bit of the ebbs as opposed to the flows when it came to that. So teams are starting to catch up. We're within, I think the Unicorns were about half a game to the Hoppers, and was kind of getting nervous. But looking at it now, we got a week and a half into the future here. We're looking fine. The Eastside Diamond Hoppers now a game and a half ahead of the Utica Unicorns, and the Westside Woolly Mammoths kind of, are close to Utica, but even farther away from the Hoppers in that sense. Utica's in first place, 14-9 on the season. Utica 13-11. Then it goes Westside 12-8, and the Birmingham Bloomfield Beavers 6-17. Beavers are having a rough time of it, but my Hoppers seem to be doing all right. We keep hopping along, and we stay froggy. And to kind of go through quickly the past few games on July 4th, on the holiday, it was the Beavers and the Unicorns, and the Beavers get an upset over those Unicorns, 5-1 victory on the holiday. And when we get into All-Star, we'll talk about that after this, but All-Star was Friday, July 5th, and then we get into the weekend games of this past weekend, Friday the 12th. It was a Unicorns win over the Mammoths, 7-6, so it was a close one. The Beavers, an unlikely upset against number one Eastside Diamond Hoppers, 3-2 in a low-scoring affair. Beavers get the win as game one of the doubleheader, but game two of that doubleheader would see another low-scoring game, but this side on the favor of my Frogs. 2-1 was the final score of that second game of the doubleheader. And what's strange is both teams in that doubleheader scored 4 runs each, ending in a split of the series naturally. But, Beavers, as rough as their season has been going, they're starting to pick it up a little bit. Last time I looked, they had 3 wins. Now they have 6. And, two wins on the weekend. Not bad. It's fine. As far as their season's been going, luckily they got a little bit of the taste of victory in the home run derby as part of the All-Star game, and we'll talk about that. But I'll tell you what, as far as my experience going, so I went with a bunch of my friends to the All-Star game, and it was my first one that I got to go to for this season, as ashamed as I am to say it. I only have been to one game this season, and what better way to get there, or what better time to get there than the All-Star game? That's when everybody's out. That's when the best of the best are showing. That's when the party's on. So I went to go and see. I had a great time. I got to say what's up to the guys in the booth. We had Alex Johnson and Mr. Kavanaugh. Tom Kavanaugh were both on the call for both the Home Run Derby and the All-Star game. I got to dab them up, say what's up, and show me nothing but kindness and hospitality, as per custom at the USPBL, at least as as far as I know. But I got to say what's up to them. I got to see I've never really been to a home run derby before, so I got to see my first home run derby where the Beavers got the win as Christian Ortega, dude, just went nuclear and just kind of blew everybody out of the water. He hit 1 and 2 and 3. Like he hit, I think, like 4 or 5 in a row in his, in the, we'll call it the championship round of the home run derby. We had a hopper in there. Thought it was, it was a I think it was Gorig that was in the final round of the home run derby. And we're like, okay, he's doing pretty good. And then Ortega goes, and you're like, oh, this dude is unreal. He was lighting it up. And, after I was talking to Alex and Tom in the booth after the derby, they were like, they couldn't believe it either. They were just as stunned as everybody else was. So that was a lot of fun, and you got to see the game. There were a few blunders in that game to where the friends that I brought were looking at me, as the big USPBL guy. They're like, "This is your team. These are your guys." Yeah. It just some of them were like, "Oh my God, this is embarrassing," for them to as one of their first games of the season. Some didn't look so good, but it was still fun, and it was still a great time. We ended up all going to a nearby bar, the Locker Room. That was my first time there. And if you guys have never been to the Locker Room, they have the funniest gimmick I've ever seen in a bar. They give, every table has drumsticks. No, not chicken. They have literal wooden drumsticks. And what do you do with the drumstick? You just smash them on the table and the wall. That's the thing that they do there, where obviously to the beat of the music, you could just slam on the table like a caveman on the metal bucket that they have with containing the sticks. The metal walls, you could just smash them. And I'm like, this is barbaric, and I freaking love it. I had a great time there. After the game, we were running through the rain to get there, so we're kind of soaking wet. We smell like rain, and we smell like a wet dog, and we're just pounding this table with the drumsticks, and I had a great time there. So I had a lot of fun there at the All-Star game. Since it's the All-Star game, I didn't necessarily have an allegiance to each team. It was just kind of fun, and it got me excited to go back again. To see another game and hopefully to see my Hoppers maintain their place in first place. But that wasn't the only baseball game that I went to last weekend. I also went to go visit the Royal Oak Leprechauns. I was fortunate enough, my friend in the business, Cristiano Rosa, who is the in-game host, and part of the broadcast there for the Royal Oak Leprechauns. She was nice enough to get me out to Royal Oak to see what's up. And I got to tell you, I had a great time there too. As much as I love the USPBL, the Northwoods League is pretty sweet as well. They are, so for those who don't know, the Northwoods League, it's not like the USPBL where it's 4 teams just kind of playing each other in rotation. I mean, it's a league. It is a big-time league where they got teams in Michigan and Ohio and Wisconsin and Minnesota. They have the Great Lakes Conference. They have the Great Plains Conference. Much bigger league, spanning a much bigger distance. So I'm not sure where they are in terms. I don't know if they're an independent league or whether they're single A, double A. I'm not sure of that, but they got some great talent in that league. I think the Orioles just drafted someone from the Kalamazoo Growlers in the first round. So there's some incredible talent in this league, not only from university but from wherever, as long as you can play. But I got to see a match between it was the Leprechauns and the Kalamazoo Growlers. I got to say what's up to Tanner Ware, pitcher for the Oakland Golden Grizzlies and also pitcher for the Kalamazoo Growlers, because I guess he just likes a grizzly bear. I think it's his favorite animal because both of his teams are Grizzlies. But got to say what's up to him. Got to say what's up to Christiana. I got to meet Rocky, the VP of the team. Everybody was just so nice over there. And I loved the atmosphere there. And the reason, and if you look, I got to post, I posted a little bit about it on Instagram for you guys to get kind of a visual as to what the place is like. It's like It's a little step above. And I shouldn't say, maybe that's underselling it, but it's a step above Oakland baseball in terms of their field and their kind of like we'll call it facilities for the crowd, because it's kind of they bought the field that was built in the 20s, and they kind of revamped it, did what they could with the bleachers and with the with the press box and all that stuff. It's a very historic site in Royal Oak, and it's right. I mean, it's right in the middle of the city, kind of a bit too close to the city. It's plenty of baseballs going hit the road. Luckily, haven't hit a windshield, at least at the time that I was there, but they say it happens from time to time. But I found it to be a very interactive atmosphere, similar to the vibe I have at Oakland, not only at their baseball games, but also in the arena. It's a close proximity to the field, and it's a light-hearted atmosphere. They have a lot of fun over there, and that's what I really like about these minor league teams, USPBL and Northwoods. It's for the audience. It's very laid back. It's very casual, and it's fun. It's not something like the Tigers where the stakes are so high and there's millions of dollars on the line and there's the great pitching, but you don't have the hitting and this team sucks. Like, to me, and maybe if I was a bigger, more into it, more invested, I would get that way. But what I love about minor league is that it's just everyone trying to make it to the next level. It's just everyone playing the best that they can to show off what they can do. And we have some fun in the process. It's a lot lower stakes, and I like that. It's you can let loose. And when it came to the atmosphere that I had at Royal Oak, it was kind of like that Oakland atmosphere. I could shout and I could heckle and say some funny stuff, and it's not so much that people were like, "Shush, shut up, you're distracting them." No, everyone was having fun with it. I was having fun with it. I made some new friends in the stands, and it was a great atmosphere. It was a great crowd, and it's my vibe. I loved my time there. And what I'll say, apart from, the actual baseball itself, my favorite part of that game, of that place and that team is their PA announcer, is that soundboard they got. They got some of the dumbest sound effects that I have ever heard at a game. But you know what? It's everything that I would do if I was in charge. They had sound effects. They had Homer Simpson. They had multiple Homer Simpson sound effects. They had the Taco Bell ding. They had stuff from TF2. They had stuff from JonTron. Like, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's niche, but it's everything. It's all the niche sound effects that I could pick up on and I recognize from my childhood and from just stuff that I watch, on my own. It's like the brain rot sound effects that I just love so much. So when they would do, like, for example, when we catch an out in the outfield, or they steal a base and we get them, they would play that Taco Bell like dong, like as in like you're finished. It's just, I couldn't get enough. I was listening I was kind of keeping track of all the funny stuff I heard, and it was non-stop. If it wasn't all those sound effects of you get the third strike and he's out, and you say nope from TF2. And then there was also a sound effect where you get hit by a pitch, and they played the entire Rocky quote about how hard you could get hit and keep moving forward. They played the entire clip as the player was walking to first base. I was I was laughing so hard because I couldn't believe that they were playing that kind of stuff. I loved every bit that they played. And it's exactly my sense of humor. It's exactly what I would recognize. It's what my young generation would recognize. I couldn't get enough of it, man. So all in all, I think the Growlers won 6-3, which I was there more for the atmosphere than the game. But man, I had a great time there. And if you guys are looking for some baseball, definitely I would check out the Royal Oak Leprechauns if you're in the area. That's a fun time. That's a very, very fun time. And their hot dogs slap. So that'll wrap up kind of the baseball part of this GioMo show. For the last segment of the show, let's talk about some Receiver, the documentary coming out with Amon-Ra St. Brown, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Justin Jefferson, and Devontae Adams from Omaha Productions. We'll talk about the Receiver documentary coming up on the GioMo show.